Hey, my name's James Wilkinson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about what should you be investing as a property investor. And we're going to cover two main asset types, houses and flats. Which one is better as an investment for you in the long term? Now, this channel is about my investment journey and I want to invite you to join me on that journey. We're going to show you the good, the bad and the ugly of property investing. And I want to take you along the way with me. I'm building a portfolio for my two daughters, Georgia and Amelie. We've currently got Georgia 2 properties, which you can see on the channel and see how that's all going. And we're currently looking for Amelie's first deal. So join us by taking that finger of power, turning it around, smashing that subscribe button over there and hitting the bell notification. Go on, I'll wait. Do it right now. Smash that subscribe button and hit the bell notification. Well, let's look at different asset types because I've invested in flats and houses and I've got various different experiences with that, and I speak to hundreds of property investors on a monthly basis and I can really understand which might be better for you. So let's look at the two different asset classes. So let's look at flats to start with. Well, the benefits of a flat are it's obviously cheaper to get into on the whole. Obviously we're excluding penthouses in Mayfair and stuff like that, but on the whole a flat will generally be cheaper, so that's a good thing. Now that means you're going to need less deposit and it's easier to be able to afford it, particularly if you're going to live in it yourself or even if it's on a buy-to-let investment. So what's not quite so good? Well, one thing that you need to watch out for with flats is something called leaseholds. So all flats are leasehold, pretty much, but you may get the freehold included in the purchase. So I have in Dorking I have 3 flats. 2 of them have got a share of the freehold and 1 does not have a share of the freehold. Now the benefits are when you have a share of the freehold and you need to extend the lease, it's way easier and cheaper. It doesn't really cost you any money because you own that percentage of that freehold. So that's an important thing here. Now leaseholds, it's important to understand that when they drop to a certain amount of years, we've made a very popular video on the channel about this, then it's hard to get a mortgage. And it's around 70 years, which you might be, I don't know, in your 50s or your 40s. I'm in my 40s, right? I don't think I'm going to be around in 70 years. I think it's highly likely that I won't be, right? And so I could buy a flat and think, I'm not going to be around then. So who cares if the leaseholds run out by that period of time? Well, the mortgage company do care. And for them, 70 years is a very short period of time. So that means that you then need to go back to the freeholder and buy an extension of that lease. Well, the good news is there is some reform going through legislation at the moment that potentially could mean that this will be a lot cheaper, but now it can be very, very expensive, right? So that's a consideration. Other things you've got to consider are service charges. So the service charge on a property, I've got some where it's almost nothing and some where it's quite a lot of money. So service charges range from 50 quid to hundreds of pounds. There's a flat in Hastings for sale at the moment, which has been on the market for around 8 years, where someone is trying to sell a flat that's probably worth 200 grand for 40, just because the service charge is something like 600 or 700 pounds a month. Right, which is insane. It's probably more than you can get rent. And so that person is really struggling to get rid of that property. So service charges are something that you need to consider. Now, the flats that I own are all in smaller blocks. And so the service charge goes into a freehold company and I own part of that and no one's making a profit off it. Whereas in some bigger blocks, there are big management companies that can be making considerable amounts of profit off of that service charge and fees and stuff like that. So you've got to look at, is that service charge affordable? Is it going to go up? Does it go up with inflation? How does it work? It's very important to know that before. Now, other things that you've got to consider with a leasehold property is like limitations on that. Maybe you can't rent it out on Airbnb. Maybe that's in the lease that you can't do that. That's very, very important. Maybe you can't have pets in there. Some have those sorts of things. So the pros are, it is way cheaper. Now, another pro is that costs are shared, right? So if the roof does break, then there's 4 people in that block. The cost is split between 4 people, which is better, right? I've just had some major works done on a house in Hastings on the exterior of the property, and the cost is split between 3 people, right? Which is not great. I'd rather not pay it, but it's better than splitting it between just one person. So that's a good positive thing about flats. Let's have a look at houses and how this compares. So houses, %99 of houses are freehold. So you own the house and you own the land underneath it, which is pretty good, right? That's what I would prefer. Now, they can be more expensive to get into. That's important to understand as well. They're definitely more expensive to get into a house, obviously, because you own the land, maybe a front garden, a back garden. These things increase the value of a house significantly. Now, when you get to doing works, all of the works are paid by one person. So if your roof breaks, it's you that's going to have to pay fully for that roof. And that's a real problem, isn't it? That's not great if that happens. And so that's a consideration. You're not going to split that up here. Now, one of the reasons I like houses is because you can't be forced to do work. You see, some of these bigger blocks, they do mandatory work that isn't essential, and it's just done to make money, right? Whereas on a house, you can control when the work is done. You can set money in a pot and make sure that that's all good. And so that's a real consideration for me, is having control of my own destiny. No uncertain bills. Well, they can be more certain. You can't guarantee that a roof's not going to go or a boiler's not going to go. But still, if a boiler goes in a house or a flat, it's the same cost, right? It's the same cost. Now, flats will rent pretty quick. Houses will also rent quick, and you'll also get more rent for a house, right? That's important. Now, one of the key things that really makes the difference for me is on houses, you get better capital appreciation. What does that mean? So what that means is the value of a house goes up faster than the value of a flat. Flats can take a long time to sell if you need to sell, whereas houses, there is not enough houses. We're building more and more flats these days because we've got a shortage of land and we've got a shortage of properties. So flats are easier and more profitable for builders to make. So houses will always sell faster. They'll always go up in value. We're not building as many houses percentage-wise as we are flats. And so what out of the two is the better as an investment? Well, it really depends. It really depends. I've had like good things and bad things about both, and I want you to weigh up what we've been talking about here. So flats are great because they're cheaper to get into. The costs of all the repairs are split. However, you may be forced to do repairs that you don't feel need to be done just because someone wants to make a fee. That can happen in flats. Service charges can be very high, and capital appreciation is lower on a flat. Whereas with a house, you own the land. That's important. It's more expensive to get into, of course, but any bills that are costs out of that flat, out of that house, you're going to be paying, right? So you're liable for all of that stuff as well. You'll get more rent, you'll rent it faster. But the bigger thing for me on the houses, the bigger win, and this is how you make real money in property, is the capital appreciation. And I think that, for me, just edges houses over slightly. Would I say don't buy flats? Well, my strategy is not to buy any more flats. However, I broke that rule. My most recent purchase was a flat for Georgia. But I have made a video on why I did that. It was because it was in a block. I already own one and had difficulty with some of the freeholders. So I wanted to get dominance in there and make sure that I have a position of power in that property, which I now have, which is important to me. So that's it from me. Let me know what you think. I think it's really, really important to make a consideration on this and know all of the facts before you go in. Comment below, let me know your thoughts, guys, please. Or even if say thank you or any questions on any property related matter, maybe I'll make a video for you. Do like the video, guys. That really helps with YouTube. Subscribe if you didn't earlier. And do join us in our VIP list. In the description is a very easy link to fill in. Put your name and details in, and then I will send you out all the details of our live event as soon as the tickets go out for that. Do check out all the other videos on the channel, including this one right here. Thanks for watching.